Hi everyone, it's Mariah. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I wanted to do a little animal study in my new sketchbook, so I thought this would just be a nice opportunity to film a little relaxed draw with me. So if you've got a sketchbook in front of you, go ahead and start sketching, or if you're just watching, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me while I draw some cranes. So my plan for this page of my sketchbook was just to do some animal studies, and as you can see I did choose to study cranes. I think they're the most, maybe not the most, but they're gorgeous animals and gorgeous birds, and I absolutely love birds. If you've watched my old videos, you might remember my bird Bandit has made a few features in my voiceovers. He is now in a different room than what I record in, but it is actually on my bucket list to see hummingbirds in nature. I don't think hummingbirds are in Australia. I think we have a kind of a similar bird somewhere up north, but we don't have hummingbirds, and I see all these Instagrammers who have bird feeders, and in the morning they get to watch these hummingbirds, and it just sounds like a dream to me. So that's on my bucket list. But I do hope to move somewhere in Australia where I can see more kookaburras more often. Now, to get back to my plan with this sketch page, sorry about that little deviation onto my love for birds. I really wanted to just sketch out these birds and chuck in some watercolour and get a nice splash of colour going. So I went in with my purple colour raised pencil first to sketch it out, then I went over with a 2B pencil, and then I went in and added some watercolour after I'd gotten the entire layout how I wanted it to look. So this is my new sketchbook. This is the second page that I am filling in it. As you can see to the left, there is a painting there. I did film that painting, and I was devastated to find out that I didn't actually film the painting. I thought I was filming it, and yeah, I only got about 10 minutes of filming, and then my phone cut out or something wrong happened, and I didn't check for the whole painting. I was in such a zone. But that painting was a draw this in your style, and it is posted over on my Instagram, which is linked down below if you do want to check it out. Now, the sketchbook is a Travelog watercolour journal sketchbook. It came at a nice hefty price, which I was very lucky to be gifted it by my lovely fiance as something to keep me sane during lockdown and giving me something to work on with my art. And this is my first proper, I suppose, bound sketchbook that I'm going to try and fill. I've tried once before to fill a sketchbook, and I find that I have to get a bound sketchbook, or I just end up ripping out all the pages that I'm not happy with. Now, I do have a lot of sketchbooks that I can just jot down ideas in and do horrible drawings in that I feel no pressure for, and I'll rip out all the pages. But I did actually want to try and fill a sketchbook, and I guess it's not correct for me to say fill out a proper sketchbook, but that's kind of how I feel. This is a sketchbook that I'm making an active effort to not necessarily make cohesive within all the drawings that I put in it, because the first two pages aren't really cohesive, but to actually fill the sketchbook and use it to do studies and just kind of create something that I'm happy to present as, you know, a collection of some of my works. Now, the watercolour journal, it is a 8.25 by 8.25 inch space, so it's square, or for my metric people out there, which I am one of, it is about 21 centimetres squared. It is a watercolour journal, so it is designed for watercolour, and it's got 200 GSM cold press finished watercolour paper. Now, I won't really give too much more about my thoughts on the sketchbook so far, because I do want to paint a bit more in it and even try out a few different mediums to see how it holds up against them before I really create a solid opinion on this sketchbook. And when I feel comfortable and sure of my thoughts on it, I will probably put out a quick review video just to share my thoughts on this specific sketchbook. And that said, my journey to find the sketchbook, though, I did want to add, I really wanted, I think it's ILO, I wanted one of those sketchbooks, but the shipping to Australia is just, it's not worth it. It can't really be justified. It's something like $75 to ship it to Australia, and yeah, I can't justify that, and I don't think many people could. But so that's kickstarted my journey for a square sketchbook, and I do definitely have a few others that once I fill this one, if I get on a roll with it, I might try some other brands, and I'm excited. So if anyone's got any suggestions for square sketchbooks that are bound, not spiral bound, hard bound, and lay nice and flat, let me know, and I would love to check them out. Now, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to me when they see other artists' sketchbooks that have these awesome dynamic layouts, and they just look so well used and well filled, and you know, there's no right or wrong way to use a sketchbook, but it's something that I love the look of, and it doesn't really come to me naturally. I kind of draw one image on a page and move on to the next. So with this sketchbook, that's definitely something that I'm making a conscious effort to try and meet an aesthetic within this sketchbook that I like. I don't necessarily want to meet it because I feel like that's what a sketchbook has to be. I definitely don't feel like that, but I really like that look, and I want this sketchbook to be something that I can show to someone and be proud of. The paints that I used were a mixture of my own handmade paints, which you can see there's a little swatch card on the left that I went from because I couldn't find my palette for this set. And then I used my palette that I've made up myself using, it's mostly Daniel Smith watercolour paints, and there might be a few Holbein paints in there as well. And I painted from right to left, kind of from the bottom up both times, and that's just because I'm left-handed, and you know, I've made the mistake way too many times and starting on the left side and then not being able to continue until that dries, so I actually made a conscious effort this time to start on the right side so that I could flow more with my painting rather than having to wait for things to dry. I was also pretty selective with my colour palette for these first three, so the first three being the two that are already painted and this one I'm painting now. And it really showed through in this one here because in the reference image, by the way, I got my references just from Pinterest. I think I searched cranes or photos of cranes, and this image here actually had quite a lot of yellow in it from the sun, a lot of yellow on the wings, and I chose to not include that because I didn't want to add in too many potential light sources, I suppose, and I felt like adding that yellow would kind of pull the cohesiveness away from the rest of the images that I painted. I do also feel that this crane here is the weak point of this sketchbook, which I've got to be okay with. I think I could go in and maybe fix it up a bit, but just the neck area and that leg, as you can see now, the way that I did that shading, it makes it look like that leg, the muscle almost extends all the way up to the neck, and that's not how it was supposed to look. But I think I'll just leave it. I need to be okay with things not being perfect, but I also need to be okay with going in and changing things. And I think this is one of those situations where I am okay that this is a study and it's not about making it perfect. If it was, then I would have put in those yellow highlights and everything. Now for this fourth and final crane, I wanted to render it more and just get more detail in there and more contrast and more colour as well, and I was amazed at how much colour I saw in their beak. It was really quite interesting. I ended up adding in some green there and was really able to break from the colour palette that I had for the other three images, and I like that. I also then did later go in with some coloured pencil to try and add in some more detail and depth, and I think it turned out alright. The imagery of these cranes really make me think of Japan, and it is almost exactly 1 year since I left Melbourne and got on a flight to go to Japan, and I've been thinking about Japan almost every day since I got back, and the travel bug is really there, and unfortunately, you know, as many people are experiencing, I can't go back and I can't go overseas, but it was really nice just to paint these animals that really make me reminisce of Japan, and it just really brought home that idea that I should be painting what I love and what I want and what makes me happy, and painting these birds was so much fun, and I can't wait to keep doing studies, and I do want to stylize them eventually as well. I did in another sketchbook, one of those sketchbooks I talked about earlier, where I can just tear things out, draw a little crane with a hat and a bow tie and some flowers, and I really want to get more confident with these different animals, and not just animals, with people and that, to be able to stylize them more into my own style. But I do really think you need to understand the subject before you can bend it and stylize it in your own way sometimes, and that's something that I'm trying to work on at the moment. Now, I do have some big projects in the early works, so I'm excited to bring them to you over the next few months, but I think we might be getting a few sketchbook sessions in between. So let me know if you like this style of video. I had so much fun making it, and I'd love to know if you'd like to see more, but for now we are nearing the very end of this video, so if you stuck around, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. I'm currently putting out videos every week. My Instagram's linked down below if you'd like to see more of my artwork, and thank you so much guys for tuning in and hanging out with me while I had this little sketchbook session, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.